Hello. How's it going? No, you can't answer me. Uh, my name is Jonathan Cadat, and you may know me from a podcast I do called Those Aren't Biscuits. I do it with my friend Owen Adams, and it's basically a pop culture podcast where we did talk about comics and movies and video games and regular books and everything under the sun. Now, what I wanted to do here was actually add some extra content because we hit a lot of topics in each episode, and sometimes we just can't uh, cover them as the way we want to. So I thought I'd do this as a little bit of a filler. No, not filler. Not filler. Companion. Companion. Uh, Recently we did an episode where we talked about the recent Daredevil show on Netflix. We went in length about it, and basically, if you haven't seen it, you should. It's really cool, and it's fun for everyone around, not just comic book fans or whatever. Now, the problem is that the comic book companies that are making these movies, DC or Marvel or whoever, they're actually really bad at doing something, I think, and that is advertising the comics using the movies or television shows. They do it the other way around. They advertise the movies and television shows with the comics, just not the other way around. And which I feel is a misstep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about two Daredevil storylines that are some of my personal favorites, because I'm actually a big Daredevil fan. And the thing about these is that they're not your typical well-known storylines. They're not the Frank Miller or the Brian Michael Bendis storylines. These are actually ones that kind of fall under the radar, I feel, sometimes. So, first one up is one called The Guardian Devil. And it's actually the reintroduction of the character into the Marvel Universe. It's done by Kevin Smith and Joe Quesada, I believe. Quesada on art, Smith on script. Now, the storyline revolves around Daredevil, or Matt Murdock, having to protect a child, which may or may not be the Antichrist / Messiah. Who knows? What's interesting about this storyline is that it actually takes Daredevil out of what I would say the comfort zone is. If you've seen the show or watched the movie or kind of know anything about Daredevil, the perception is that he is an isolated character who deals mostly with street level crime, and he is beating up muggers and drug dealers and basically more realistic pieces of shit. This one, on the other hand, has him interacting with a side of the Marvel Universe that is uncommon for him. He's dealing with characters like Doctor Strange and Mephisto, magic and demons, and it's really kind of interesting to see how he falls into that. On the same hand, though, the story is actually kind of grounded really well by use of a very poignant tragedy towards the end of it. Now, what I really like about this story, other than taking Daredevil out of his comfort zone, is actually Kevin Smith's writing, which might be an acquired taste for some, but I'm a big fan of it. And what he does, though, is he uses his knack for dialogue and characterization to establish Daredevil's world as not necessarily realistic, but relatable. He uses conversations between Daredevil and characters like Spider-Man and Black Widow and his friend Foggy to really solidify Daredevil's role in the universe at large. And plus, because it's a number one, and it's the first story arc of the second series, it's a pretty good jumping on point, I feel, if you're unfamiliar with the character. Now, the other storyline I wanted to go into is one called The Return of the King, by Ed Brubaker, with art by Michael Lark. Now, this is actually, to me, on the opposite side of the timeline. Whereas Guardian Devil introduces us to the character and sets Daredevil on the path, this one shows where that path was inevitably going to lead. The storyline revolves around Daredevil and Matt Murdock, same person, basically at the end of the ropes. They've been dragged through the mud and kicked while they're down for over 100 issues at this point, and it's just beginning to become too much. And this all culminates with the return of what I feel is Daredevil's biggest adversary in the Kingpin, Wilson Fisk. But the funny thing about this is that both of these characters are desperate. They are in really bad places, and because they're both trying to survive and thwart the presence of a group of assassins known as the Hand. So much so that they are inevitably joined into a truce with each other. Whether it's a real truce or not, that's going to be revealed in the storyline. But what's really cool about it is that at the end of the storyline, we see Daredevil make a decision. And it's a decision that you don't really see a lot of in comic books or superhero stories in general. And because the choice he makes is not really the right one. Or is it the wrong one? It's actually just the only one he has at the moment. There's no Deus Ex Machina. There's no last minute rescue from some other character. It's just him and years of failure and abuse. And, well, the problem is that it's not really a good storyline for new readers, I would say. But, I mean, really, just a simple Wikipedia search will fix that. So yeah, that's the two storylines I wanted to talk about. And I don't know, if you guys are fans, why don't you let me know what are some of your favorite storylines from Daredevil or in comics in general. I'm not picky. So yeah, as a reminder, you can hear more of me if you so choose on the podcast Those Aren't Biscuits that I do with my friend Owen Adams. And speaking of Owen Adams, my partner in crime, he has started doing Let's Plays over on his YouTube channel. So you should check those out. They're pretty fun to listen to, and he has that sweet British accent. So plus, but yeah, I'll have links to all this stuff either around or under me. You know how that goes. I'm sure this isn't your first YouTube video, but so yeah, have a good one.